Welcome to the Tangle with Kyle Ridley. Thank you so much for joining me this week. It's a big week. I have one of my all-time favorites joining me. If you've seen my Instagram, I have a written document at the top of dream guests that I would love to have on this podcast. Some people that I've met before, some that I've even interviewed back in my print journalism days. And my guest today is on that list, Margaret Cho. I will speak about her in just a minute, but she has been a big part of my life for decades. I'm so excited. It was a wonderful conversation. But first, what am I tangled in this week? Wow. This year, has it been many years? It feels like it's an emotional year, guys. I've talked to some friends and we're just fluctuating ups and downs every day, roller coasters of emotions. I was talking to someone recently on an upcoming podcast, Jeff Hiller, who I've talked about before, but I loved his book. And we were talking about his show, Somebody Somewhere. And I mentioned that a lot of the characters seem oftentimes on the edge of hysterically laughing or crying. And that's kind of how I felt lately. I'm sure many of you can relate, especially living here in the DC area, the nation's capital, where the National Guard is making their way through the city and making their stain on history. It's a tough watch. It's a tough environment, and it's kind of always tough to be in this area, surrounded by politics and politics that you don't really agree with. And the thing about DC is that it's very blue. So the person in charge is probably frustrated that he is surrounded by people that do not like or agree with him. Emotions are just running high all around. And I'm not a crier. I'm probably good for one good cry a year or every other year. But there have definitely been some tears over these last few weeks or months. And crying's good. Always a nice release. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but last year I went to the Kennedy Center, which now I won't go to anymore. Sarah Bareilles performed with the National Symphony Orchestra. It was my first time seeing her, and it was such a special evening. And she brought out Rufus Wainwright to perform She Used to Be Mine. And Rufus Wainwright has always kind of been a blind spot for me. I knew of him, but I'd never delved into his discography. And I was thrilled when he came out, but didn't really know what to expect. And the performance was incredible. And then it was televised on New Year's Eve on PBS. And I've listened to it a few times recently and watched it on YouTube. And every time it makes me bawl. And I encourage all of you to watch that. If you might need a good release, that could probably do it. Also, I listened to the Handsome podcast with Tig Notaro and Mae Martin and Fortune Feimster, and they had a beautiful episode the other week where Tig spoke about her friend Andrea Gibson, who recently passed away from cancer, and their decades-long friendship and being with her at the end of life and that life-changing experience. And it was so moving, and they were all crying, and I'm just walking my dogs around the neighborhood, bawling, listening to them speak about this beautiful friendship and this beautiful ending that Andrea knew was coming and was well prepared for. And I don't know, I could cry thinking about it right now. And then yesterday, I think I had a 24-hour stomach bug or food poisoning. So it's like, okay, laughing, crying, sick, I'm covering everything. But on the plus side, Swifties, we have more details. Did you all watch that 2-hour YouTube with her and Travis and Jason? I did watch. I watched live. I was one of the participants who crashed YouTube. We are getting the life of a showgirl on October 3rd, of course, 10/3/13. I'm excited. 12 songs. She says there's not going to be a deluxe version. There's not going to be more songs coming. It's supposed to be a perfect, well-visioned 12 songs, 12 bangers, encapsulating this period of her life when she was on the Eras Tour. I'm really looking forward to it. I will say that the producers that she's working with, returning to Max Martin, I actually am not the biggest fan of her past Max Martin songs, which basically are her hit pop songs. I love them. I'll dance to them. I'll sing to them. But I'm more of a Folklore, Evermore, Midnight's, Tortured Poets guy. But I'm excited to hear what the songs sound like, especially her not working with them for 8 or so years. And you change a lot from your 20s to your 30s. And her songwriting has only gotten better and better. So I can only imagine what these masterful lyrics are going to be with masterful pop soundscapes. It's exciting. So we have that to look forward to for sure. What else am I tangled in? Any movies, any shows? Well, And Just Like That ended. And is it really worth mentioning? It was a slog to get through those 3 seasons. And I'll leave it at that. And Just Like That. Oh, and I'm a little behind this new artist. I guess she's not new, but Jensen McCrae, my God. I have to thank Matt Rogers and Los Culturistas for exposing me to her and that song Massachusetts she performed on the Los Culturistas Awards. Totally have taken a deep dive into her albums and her music, and what a voice, what a songwriter. I will be following. Hopefully, I'll see her live. Will she come on the podcast? Who knows? But new fan. Let's get back to Margaret Cho. Oh my gosh, Margaret Cho. I was thinking about it, and her show All American Girl came out in 1994, more than 30 years ago. She has been in my life, and I was a big fan of that show. I have the DVD collection. We talk about that show in this episode. I've seen her live 5 or 6 times. She comes to the DC area yearly, it seems. I've seen her at the Warner Theater, DC Improv. I saw her in Baltimore before. I have followed her whole career, listened to all her comedy albums, used to buy all the DVDs when, DVDs were a thing, read her books. She has comedy albums, or they're really more so music albums, because a lot of the songs that she writes are very earnest. We talk about that because she has a new music album out right now. It's called Lucky Gift, and it covers a lot of heavy topics, but in a very beautiful and sometimes comedic way. It's her first music album in many years. She has a tribute to Robin Williams on the album. She talks about gender affirming care and the trans community and support for them, love and loss. So I definitely encourage you to check that out. And then, of course, she's going back on tour. Her new tour is called Choligarchy, and she has dates through spring of next year, guys. So you have to check her out. Of course, she's coming to the DC area. She's going to return to Warner Theater next year. She's going all over the country: New Hampshire, California, North Carolina, New York, New Jersey, Wisconsin. She's basically going to every state. This was such a beautiful conversation to have. I was thrilled to be able to speak with her and basically give thanks for everything that she's given to me and given to us over the years. She was very open. She was candid. She was everything you'd want her to be. And I just appreciate her being able to spend the time with me for 30 or so minutes. It was a dream guest. So let's get right to it. Here we go with the incomparable, the incredible, the hilarious, the groundbreaking, wonderful, beautiful, game-changing. What else can I say? Margaret Cho. Here we go. I've seen you so many times over the years, and I even broke out, look at all the books and DVDs and
wow, that's so
All American
great.
Girl.
I love that.
It's so special. So great to have you. Yes, I have all my stuff here, and I just interviewed Judy Gold a couple weeks ago, and we started talking all about All American Girl, which is now more than 30 years old. So I do want to touch on that show, because your relationship to that show more than 30 years later, the impact it's had, and it did take decades for another Asian American family to be on a sitcom with Fresh Off the Boat. Do you still get people coming up to you now saying that was a groundbreaking show for me and thank you?
Yes, absolutely. All the time. I would love to revisit it. I mean, I think that there's an audience for it. I think that, it would be also do great remastered and put out again on a different streaming platform. I know it's all out on YouTube, but I think that it would be great to just have a whole new audience for it. There are people who remember it. And for a lot of people, it was meaningful because it was the first time they saw an Asian American family on television. So it's a big deal. So yeah, I would love to do something.
Are you debating possibly doing a reboot with a new generation but the same cast still, if you had your way?
I would love to do it with the same cast. We are very close. We retain the same relationship that we did, because what we went through was so unusual and so intense. We're the same. Me and Judy and BD and Maddie, and it's really incredible to think about, oh, we could do this again. And it would just be us. So I would love that.
And there's also this new generation who I've heard you call them your children. So do you feel motherly to Ali Wong and Joel Kim Booster?
Yeah. Well, Ali is the best. And yes, she's my baby. Joel Kim Booster is my firstborn son. He's like the one, he's really, I always tell him, no, I'm your biological mother. It's true. Because we are very similar. And, we have so much in common, down to our very specific political beliefs and our activism and all that, is my child. People like Sam O and Dylan Adler and Nora Reed and Sabrina Wu, they're all my kids, this whole generation of amazing Asian American queer comics. I really love them.
And I think comics and LGBT in general, the youth, the community, just like in Fire Island, you play sort of this Earth mother and a mother to everyone. How long did it take for you to really let that all sink in, for you to receive all this love? Because are so many generations, if we're going on more than 30 years now, have you really let it sink in?
Oh, I love it. And, we love to get to be mother. Like as soon as we can, like we love to play house and be mother, like as queers, because it's just a sense of belonging that we don't really have in the real world or the heteronormative world. So we love to mother, even if we're young, we love to mother. So it's perfectly appropriate to mother be like a single mom, a teen mom, So yeah, I've always loved it.
And you're going on 40 years on the road because you started in the 80s. I was talking to Judy Gold about how it's still her number one passion, leaving every weekend. She doesn't love the travel, but just being on stage every weekend is her number one joy, and she'll never stop. She said, just like Joan Rivers, she'll do it until she dies. Do you have the same relationship to the stage and the road?
Yeah, it's like climbing a mountain and you can't get to the top and you're always climbing. And like you can kind of see the top and you kind of see the summit. Like we're always trying to climb up there. We're always trying to get there. We never quite make it or we overshoot. It's a very strange art form. You can't perfect it. You need an audience to complete it. You need an audience to do it. And it's a lot. I think the travel is difficult, but I'm able to do it in like a pretty like comfortable way. But yeah, it's something that I'll always do as long as I can. I think it keeps my mind alive. I think it keeps your mind young because we're always trying to write something thought-provoking and new, especially now with this administration and what's happening. You want to come at it with precision and the same amount of cruelty that they they have for us, we want to have for them. So it's a good challenge.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because you are returning to more of your political roots with this new tour, Choligarchy. It's the follow up to Live and Livid. But I want to first double back to the 90s because it's so different now, stand up from the 90s, 2000s to now 2025. I listened to a couple podcasts recently where like Kathy Griffin was talking about how you and Janine Garofalo were like in the indie comic scene and we're charging like $1 for a show. What do you miss most about maybe that era? And how do you feel like the stage has changed or stand up has changed through the decade?
I guess what I miss about that era is that everything was so contained to the place and time that you did it. So if you did a show, it stayed there. There was no viral video. There was no social media awareness about it. That when you did a show, it was just like this private little universe between you and the audience, and it could be contained. There's a very special experience. I miss that accessibility that we would just be able to do that every single week. And like Kathy would doing a couple of ones at the bookstore called Big and Tall Books. And there was one at the Groundlings, which is like a comedy school theater. So we were doing that there. And, it was a really great place to just to kind of figure out what we were doing and who we were as artists. And I think there's still an element of that now. It's still kind of very special doing our shows, doing everything. It's just now there's a lot more at stake. We have, kind of followings and kind of people know who we are. And so it's a little bit less like we can't take as many chances. We can't take as many risks as we did because there's a kind of a brand in a way to uphold. I mean, I never really take that stuff very seriously, but I always want to be aware of it.
Do you ever feel like you need to censor yourself or keep stuff off limits now with crowds nowadays where everyone's holding a phone?
Yeah, like I want to make sure that I don't get visited by the FBI or the CIA or the Secret Service. That's always actually like a concern. Like I wonder, okay, because we have such a deranged despot for president, he's just like when he should be dealing with real issues, he's attacking our friend Rosie O'Donnell, who's not even in America. She had the good sense to get up and leave, which is, I mean, we may be following her pretty soon. I don't want to, but, it's like he hates comedy. Like that's the thing, because he hates women comics the most because we got his number. And so actually that's the one weapon we can use against him. He's really weak compared to us.
Whole Kathy Griffin thing. I'm glad she's finally coming back. It should never happened.
No, but I think also it's not like she did anything wrong. She didn't do anything wrong. It was timing. It was the way that it was kind of marketed to his followers to a very sick cult. You know, they are a cult, and I don't think we understood as much as that they were a cult until now. So yeah, it's troubling, and fortunately, she's been able to stay in the United States, and I would like to as well.
And you touch on a lot of this in your new tour. You have said that the only weapon you have is humor, especially with this tour, the last tour. We've been going through this since 2016. Are you really fueled to write during such politically divisive times? Is it easy for you just to spit it all out and come up with new material?
Yeah, yeah, because it's so engrossing. I'm just struck, like, I can't believe I'm struck by the news, like, constantly, and, I'm absolutely addicted to it, and I feed off it, and that the way that I can metabolize it is through jokes, through humor, through writing about it, through posting about it to some extent on social media as well, getting some of my feelings out that way, but also just what can we do, with all of these ICE raids, with people being kidnapped off the street, what can we do to at least take some of the wind out of their sails, or at least try to hobble this fascism a little bit, kneecap it a little bit. I think it's possible because they were so hypersensitive about the way they're perceived. Trump especially is so sensitive about the way that he's perceived and cannot handle ridicule.
And so when you are writing this material, is it kind of a puzzle to be like, okay, I have all this frustration and rage, and I'm going to now put it into a show, but I need to have people laughing?
Yeah, you want to do that. You want to be able to be funny. That's the most important thing. You have to be funny. And there's a way to do that. There's a way to kind of figure out what makes sense and what that so that's why it's an everyday obsession. That's why it's a constant this work, this and there and it's all sorts of things. It's like I was really torn apart by the Diddy trial, and just watching the way that feminism is being dismantled. You have this longtime abuser who's basically, we don't really know the outcome yet, but he seems like he's being exonerated, for like he's going to get off. And it's just like, what happened to our rights? What happened to rights of the abused? So it's intense to watch.
Will you touch on that as well in the show?
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of that dealing with Diddy and then Trump, they're all the same. Say the abusers, whether it's Epstein, whether it's Trump, they're all kind of the same.
And you always make sure to come to DC, which we have a lot of listeners of this podcast in this area. Do you have any special standout memories from playing in the nation's capital, or anything that you return to when you come here, or anything that sticks out with audiences?
It's always the best because you can get very, very specific. People are so well informed and really want to hear, want to talk about politics. And so it's one of my favorite places, whether it's the Warner, which is an incredible theater, it's one of my favorite places to perform in the world, or it's the DC Improv, which is also amazing. Because everybody that lives there is trying to make things better for the rest of us. And so it's a heroic energy they bring with them. And so it's very special to perform for such incredible people.
When I was younger, I think I was a teen, I took my mom to see you. Do you still get the generations down, like people bringing their parents and exposing their parents, or maybe people exposing their children to your comedy now?
Yes. Yeah, a lot of intergenerational families coming. It's really special to be able to have that broad of an audience to play for. And that, it's an honor. I really love that.
You have been writing a lot because you also have a new album out. It's your first album in several years. I've loved your musical albums. It's hard to call them comedy albums because so much of it is very earnest. And like the song Hey Big Dog is one of my favorites. Like that's a beautiful song. That's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
But this new album, Lucky Gift, it really spans a lot of hard-hitting issues, from death and loss and sobriety and speaking out for the trans community. When you sit down to write, is it just what is hitting you in the moment? Like, oh, I'm feeling I need to write comedy, or I want to pick up guitar, and this is just coming to me?
Music, I don't have as much choice or control as I do with comedy. With comedy, I'm well experienced in kind of grabbing also the ideas that I want to amplify and putting it out there. But with music, I'm constrained by chords, tempo, the amount of words I can say in a lyric, my ability to play. All of these things limit my scope as a songwriter. So I don't have as many choices. If I was a better musician, or if I played more instruments, I would have more of a vocabulary and a more of a arena to work in as a songwriter. Like it still works. It's just, for me, songwriting is less about what I choose to write and more about what comes through. Whereas comedy, I can sort of direct it. Like, I would like to write a joke about this, and then can direct it like that. But I don't have as much of that say as a songwriter.
Does it take you a while to, I guess, workshop a song like it does a joke? With a joke, you're practicing in clubs and honing it. Does it take you days or weeks to really get a song down and finalize the lyrics and the melody and chorus?
A song is faster, actually. A song is faster because it don't require um, a third party. Because comedy is a conversation, and laughs are a response. It's like a call and response of laughter. Whereas music is just a soliloquy. They kind of just stay written, and I don't have a lot of adjustments. I mean, there's some exceptions, especially when I'm going back in and writing with somebody else and we're kind of turning around and doing different things. But I don't really have as much of a push and pull with songs. They usually kind of come out more fully formed.
And you cover issues that have impacted you throughout your life. This album isn't specific to this current time period. You have a song about Robin Williams, who you had a long history with. It's called Funny Man. You have songs about your sobriety, which you've been dealing with for many decades. So was it just you had certain topics you wanted to return to and put them in song form that you knew this would encapsulate this collection? How did you come up with the theme for Lucky Gift?
Well, Lucky Gift was just it just seemed to me these were songs that fit together well and are things that I had been collecting for a while since I hadn't put out a record in a long time. The pandemic allowed me to kind of slow down and do some more writing. And I think those two periods kind of came together for me psychically and sonically.
I want to talk a little bit about the song You Can Be You, which you've said is one of your favorite songs, and it speaks to the trans youth of today. Can you just talk about writing that song and the impact it's had and feedback you've gotten?
Well, I love that song. It started with the terrible news of the death of Next Benedict, who was a teen who was non-binary, and they unfortunately passed away in Oklahoma. And after their really, really tragic death, the way that the people, teachers and like staff and like the government in Oklahoma would not stop misgendering them, would not stop of the just horrible homophobic hateful messages, including the guy that he's like some, I don't know, he's some politician in Oklahoma. He just got found with child porn or something. Like, there's always somebody getting caught with porn who ends up being a homophobic asshole. But he was like the worst. These people who, it's like not enough for a child to die. You have to completely desecrate their memory by doing the things that they would rather you not have done, which is like misgendering and these hateful comments. And so, I wanted to write the song for them. And for any of these trans kids, like, we're taking, what this government is doing is they're taking away the most like basic needs, like a gay teen suicide hotline. Like, of course, the point is petty cruelty, but what a hateful thing to do. So for those kinds of messages out there, I wanted to write a song that was about Next Benedict, but also about all these kids who you want to tell them it's okay. It's actually great to be yourself. And you have this permission from somebody who has been themselves, who understands that. So I'm really proud of that song. I really love that song. I think, it's really meaningful to me to have it out there. I want that message. If anything, we have to help these queer kids. It's all we can do. Now that these like gay teen suicide hotlines are shut down, what can we do? What can we do to bring together some help for them?
I've been through a lot of this in the 90s. Like, I'm thinking of Matthew Shepard right now. You and I have lived through such difficult times and then progress. And now it's like we're falling back. A lot of times people have seen you as a beacon of light and hope. How are you maintaining this hope? Because it does feel like such dark times. I know you're releasing it through comedy, but do you still have hope?
Yeah, there's hope. Like, I love South Park. That gave me so much hope. Like, I laughed so much at that. And I'm laughing so much at the unity of like how the comedy community is really embraced, like Stephen Colbert, and how everybody's rallying around Rosie O'Donnell, which is incredible. She's my really good friend.
I love her.
She's so great. we're so tight, and like, so for everybody to globally to band together to protect her, which is it's so cool. Like, it's so exciting.
Overdue.
It's way overdue. And it's like, she is just super special. So I'm really grateful for that. So there's a lot of like hopeful things. Also, if you really do think about politics as being a pendulum that swings, which is the truth of it, all this means is that it's going to go this far and then it's going to swing back to the left. And now it's going to swing so far to the left because it's gone so far to the right. Like, if we look at the extent of how far they're going, that only means ours is going to go much farther as well. So if that's true, which I believe is, we do have a lot to look forward to. But in order for that to happen, we have to make sure a lot of things fall into place. Like, they don't make it so they seize control for the rest of time. Like that, they don't completely destroy democracy entirely, which is possible as well.
That gives me hope because it is scary. So it's great to hear someone like you feed that back because now I feel like, yeah, we will swing in the better direction. We're in a dark place right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Tangle, what are you tangled in right now that you're really loving? It could be a show or a book or anything that you're loving. And then what's something that's frustrated that you're looking to get untangled from right now?
Well, I've been like loving the female rock memoirs of right now I'm reading Debbie Harry's, who's another friend of mine who I love. She's so great. So I'm reading her book. I just finished Rebel Girl, which is Kathleen Hanna's, and also Ione Skies, which is Say Anything, which is amazing. And I don't know Kathleen, but I'm good friends with Ione as well. And so it's like so interesting and I was on the sidelines of all of these lives, and then to read it from their perspective, it's so incredible. So I'm just loving being in the middle of all these amazing rock and roll women and reading about them. And I absolutely love it. So I'm tangled up in their books.
Yeah, most of these books are all memoirs and mostly females, like comedians and rock stars. And I have some up here, I think Anita Franco, who I know you're a big fan of.
I
And
love her.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we need to get Fiona Apple and Patty Griffin to release a book. They have an incredible
Gosh,
story.
they would be incredible. I mean, they're so amazing. They have stories, both of them. They have so much to say.
I actually
But I
just
love
finished
them.
this book. I don't know if you're friends with him, but do you know Jeff Hiller?
I'm a huge fan, but I don't know him. I love that.
This book is so funny, and each
Good.
chapter is based on each chapter title is a memoir chapter title, and like some of the people you just mentioned are his, because he's a big memoir enthusiast. So
Good. I have to
and
read
I've read
that.
all your books. Do you think you'll write another one?
I actually have like now been inspired, especially Ione's book made me really want to get back. I mean, I have like a bunch of writing that's kind of formless, but it is an autobiography that will one day see the light at some point. But yeah, I've kind of have a store of writing that is something that may turn into that. But yeah, that would be great.
I know another thing you're tangled in. You just put your parents in assisted living. I have to touch on them because they're such a big part of your show. How are they doing? And do they realize the success? Have they let it all sink in?
Yeah, I think so. They're excited because Whitney Cummings rented their house. So they moved to an assisted living and they have a house for rent. And they're like, oh, do you know Whitney Cummings? Wow, she's so famous. Like, they're like so excited about Whitney Cummings, and they're like watching her on TV all the time because they like can't believe that she lives in their house. And so it's very funny. And she wants to go over there to visit them. So I'm going to take her over there. She's great. She's a scream. So it didn't happen because we know each other. It was just by chance. She wound up in their house, which is like very, I don't know how that happened, but it's very cute.
Would you say the comedy community is more close-knit now compared to the 90s, or has it always been close-knit for you, or competitive?
It's always been really close-knit. I mean, there is competition, of course, but at the same time, if you're in it for a long time, it's like I've been like sort of not really exactly competition because we've all done so many different things that we're not really looking for the same opportunities, or we're not looking at the same opportunities. It's not the same thing. Maybe in a younger time, it may have felt that way, but I don't really have a sense of that. And I think the comedy community is very close-knit, although it's a little bit fractured too, because so many comedians politically are so different. And a lot of the reasons why we're in this situation is because of comedy. It's because of these comedians who have endorsed people they should not have. And, so it's kind of weird. It's super weird. It's super weird. Like, and I am close to a lot of these people that I totally disagree with. And it's like akin to when family members go MAGA. It's like
It's a
that.
strange divide right now, for sure.
It's super weird. And, it also dealt with trans lives as well. Like the divide is around trans women being able to live, like trans rights or the sanctity of trans lives. That I don't even know why that's an argument. For me, it's like, of course, give trans people the right to exist, but that's also somehow contested. So yeah, there's a lot of closeness in comedy, but also a lot of like, what are you thinking? Like, I don't get it.
It'd be interesting to see how things shake out in the coming years because it does feel like there's a whole nother batch of bros that are get a lot of attention, but
It's just the thing is that we all do have a lot of respect for each other because it's a weird job. It's like you can be humbled so quickly. So you can't really ride on your previous success or your legacy. It's like a very grounding profession, and we all know that. So that there is a kind of love that we have for each other that withstands everything, kind of. So it's interesting.
I do want to touch on some of your acting roles before you go because you have such a huge filmography. You've been in so many roles, so many shows. So if maybe just like a sentence or two about each of these, what highlights really stick out for you? And I want to start with one that I just saw you in, which I had me bawling. You were in an episode of Dying for Sex. How was that show? And did you listen to the podcast before?
Yeah. I have a connection with that show, but some people in my life, it's a whole thing, but I'm really grateful to have been a part of it. I love the podcast and I love the story. So it was very, the real life coming into this show. And I love the show and I'm just so proud of them, and to me, it's just such a joy that something like that, which is really about real love, but it's not romantic love and it's not what we think about love. It's love and death. It's really profound. So I was really honored to be a part of it.
Beautiful show. I'm so happy for
Yeah.
Nikki Boyer,
She's so
co-creator,
great.
and all
Yeah.
the Emmy nominations. I want to touch on one that you wrote. I think I first interviewed, it was a phone interview many years ago when you released Bam Bam and Celeste.
Yeah.
Well, how do you feel now with so much distance from that movie? What was that experience like?
Well, I would love to put it out on something. I want it to be streaming somewhere. I think it's such a great, like, Y2K time capsule. Really cool queer indie film with really fun roles for Jane Lynch and Danny Hawk. And, it was really special for us to make. And, of course, I love Bruce Daniels. He is one of my very, very best friends. So we just had a blast making it. So, yeah, I'd love to see it out there again somewhere.
Fire Island? Speaking of,
Yeah, my babies. I mean, I love
yep.
Bowen so much and Matt. And of course, Joel is my firstborn son. And, these are my babies. And Andrew On, of course, is an incredible director who I just absolutely love. We're just like dying for a prequel or a sequel. I would love to go back and revisit this. We're constantly talking about it. There's such a huge fan base for the film and a fandom.
So many locations you could go.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many things we could do. So yeah, there's so much, and of course, those guys are so busy. But I'm always pestering them to let's do another one.
Or you were also in Hacks, and I just want to know what you feel about one working on that show, but that show in general, which is touching on older women in comedy, an older woman getting late night, which we don't have.
Mhm.
How do you feel that impact that show has had so far?
I love it. I mean, I love that show. I love that I got to be a part of it. I love that world. To me, it reminds me a lot of Joan Rivers, of course, but also like all of the great female comedians like Rita Rudner and Deborah Vance is kind of an amalgamation of all like, these incredible like Anita Wise and all these people, and I adore it. I think Hannah is a brilliant actor. Like she's also such a great person. Like I really love her and everybody who's a part of that. Like I think they're just so genius. So yeah, to me that show is really important.
Hannah and Meg Stalter, I love how big they're getting.
She's my baby. Meg Stalter is so funny. So she and I we're in a movie, Cora Bora, which is on Netflix now.
Love that movie. I love her.
I love her, and she's great. I love Too Much. It's so good.
There's no one like her.
No, I love her. She's so funny. And her stand-up comedy is really, really funny too. So, I love working with her on Corbora. I just think she's just such a special talent. And, she's just really beautiful and really smart and really weird. Like, she's just the weirdest sense of humor and weirdest, like, delivery and comic sensibility. But yeah, I think she's a
I
genius.
saw her live once and I was crying. And it's so funny because half the audience is like, what is going on?
Yeah,
But if you
she's
get
so
it,
weird.
it's so funny.
She's so weird. It's so weird, but it's so great.
Two more. One, Life and Beth.
Oh, that was so fun too. I mean, I love Amy. I love getting to work with her and Michael, Sarah. They're just really like allow you to do whatever, and we had a really special time doing that. So yeah, I love that too.
And then last, obviously 30 Rock, everyone knows that you got Emmy nominated for that. But I want to touch on one that might have gone under the radar, but I watched every episode back in the day of Drop Dead Diva.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Was that an experience, that
Well,
Lifetime show?
It's it's a procedural, so I think it's so hard to do a procedural because you're also like, so I'm a paralegal in the show, and a lot of the things that character is saying, I had no idea what it was. So I had a hard time like with the long words, like the legal terms. I had a real like pretty much studying for the bar when you like go and do a show like that. But it was really special. Through that show, I got to work with Liza Minnelli and Patty Duke, which is incredible, or Delta Burke. Like, that's incredible. Like, real, like, showbiz royalty, like Sybil Shepherd, Shirley Knight. Like, all of these incredible actors came.
When I watched that show, I was like, the creators, there's some gay people on that show. the
Yeah.
guest people they had. I was
Yeah. It's incredible. We had Candace Kane on. We had like all of these incredible storylines. We had a chimp.
That was like a steady gig for you. You were on for multiple seasons.
Yeah, we did that show. I was on it for 7 years, and it was incredible. Like, I love being able to go back and play the same character for year after year. You get to really understand as an actor what you're about, as getting to know somebody and getting to know them over time. So yeah, I really loved it.
And these shows are now all streaming, so people are discovering them now, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's
Margaret,
cool.
this has been such a pleasure. We're going to see you on tour this summer. Do you think you'll break out the guitar at all? I know you've done that a couple times on tour.
Well, I don't think so. Like, for this one, I think I might. Well, eventually I'll do a separate music tour, but this one is like, for me, it's just I'm trying to use the time because I was like so.
You have so much
little,
to say.
There's so much, and every day there's more.
I know.
Every day there's something. So this will be a stand-up comedy tour.
Do you think you'll plan to record it as a special?
Yes, I will.
You've been in my life, my whole life, basically, and it's such an honor, and I can't wait to see you live, and I'll let you know when this is released. Margaret, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
How much do we love Margaret Cho? Make sure to catch her on tour. She's going to be on tour through the country this fall, winter, and spring on her Choligarchy tour. Catch her at a city near you. We'll be back next week. Next week is going to be a double dose of episodes. Guys, I do have that Sarah Fraser episode coming next week, and I also am going to be joined by a fantastic author. His name is Rob Goddard, and he has a beautiful new book out called Behind the Smile. You're going to want to tune into that. Until then, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your week, take care of each other, take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon.